This is Channel 2 News, coverage you can count on.
A red flag warning is in effect for the second day in a row because of these gusty winds and low humidity. Fire Watch tops Channel 2 News at 5 o'clock. Another red flag warning means firefighters are monitoring the large fires across northern Nevada, making sure they don't flare up again. Good evening. I'm Kristen Remington.
And I'm Landon Miller. Thank you for joining us tonight. Elko County says the oil well fire has destroyed at least 9 homes since flaring up yesterday afternoon. It's grown more than 7,400 acres, and FEMA has authorized federal funds for people who lost their homes to that fire. I-80 was closed near that fire, but has since reopened, and voluntary evacuations for that fire were lifted last night.
And firefighters are increasing containment on the Long Valley fire. It started near Doyle, California, and as you can see right there in red, it stretches all the way across the state line. This map of the fire shows where firefighters have managed to stop it from growing inside that dark line there. Voluntary evacuations for the fire have been lifted, and it's now 40% contained. It's burned more than 83,000 acres, though, since starting a week ago.
And we have Fire Watch team coverage for you. Ryan Canada is live near the site of the Earthstone fire with a look at how the fires in our area have actually damaged animal habitats.
Ariana Bennett is live in the studio with how much fighting these fires have cost already this season alone, and it's going to shock you.
Yeah, for sure. But we're going to start with Chief Meteorologist Mike Gouger. He's back in the Weather Center. And Mike, is our wind helping or hurting the firefighters today?
Well, I guess overall it's not being much of a help. It has come up today. You talked about the red flag conditions. Our wind gusts are well up above 20 miles an hour. Our air is very, very dry. The temperatures are still fairly hot, although they've cooled down a little bit. All in all, we've kind of had a little bit of a shift in the winds that first of all brought us a bunch of smoke this morning. This was actually something the Weather Service put together here. You can see as we put this time lapse into motion here, the air starting to clear out as we've gone through the day. A little subtle shift in our wind did help our air quality a little bit, and you can see getting a little bit bluer in our sky. And right now we're actually fairly clear outside, although we are fairly windy as well. Now in terms of that smoke plume, looking down to the south, the smoke that we saw today was not from a Nevada fire. We've been focusing on those obviously, but this Detweiler fire down there to the southwest, Mariposa County, that has sent up a very, very thick and fairly narrow plume of smoke. Now earlier today, that main part of that plume was coming over us. The wind has shifted slightly, I think, starting to clear out some of the northern end of it there. If you look at the satellite and radar, it's just a great big ridge of high pressure. We do not have any thunderstorms in our immediate future, really probably not for the next week or so. But we don't have much else really helping out either. A lot of hot temperatures. You can see as you get in close, there's really not a cloud to be found. Wind-wise, right now, 15 mile per hour, good wind down here. It does calm down tonight. By the early morning hours, they're going to start off light, but they're probably going to come back again tomorrow afternoon, just about as strong as what we had here today. We'll tell you more about that with a complete forecast outlook coming up here in just a bit.
All right. Sounds good, Mike. We'll see you shortly.
All right, let's send it out to Ryan Canada, who's live near Mustang, where the Earthstone fire burned earlier this month. So Ryan, talk to us a little bit about how these recent fires are affecting the wildlife habitat.
Well, Landon, it's been a tough time for a lot of these animals during these fires, as many of them have been losing their homes. Now, firefighters have been tasked with trying to protect the natural habitat on fires like the Earthstone and Long Valley fire. You can see right up there where some of that land went unburnt thanks to some of the firefighters. Now, other teams will come in later on to help restore these lands that have become burnt to really once the fire season is over. The Long Valley fire has impacted people who live in communities from Doyle all the way to Sutcliffe. But it's not just humans whose homes have been threatened during the fire's spread.
We've seen an impact to mule deer winter range, year-round antelope habitat, sage-grouse habitat.
The Department of Wildlife says a wildfire affects animals both directly and indirectly. Some species will unfortunately die in the fire. Others will have to learn how to adapt.
Those species that are smart enough or have the ability to get away from the fire will actually have to contend with the conditions that are existing after the fire's put out.
Once the fire is out, that's when emergency response teams come in and plant seeds to help rebuild the land for animals who've been hit the hardest.
You know, make it as good as we can and to try to restore those habitats as quick as possible, because some of these places it will take 10 to 15 years to get them reestablished.
These restoration efforts also help prevent erosion and flash flooding from hurting nearby communities.
By having some vegetation that we can get back on the land, that will definitely help it from having the soil move.
But in the meantime, as fire season continues and wildfires continue to spread, firefighters are doing all that they can to preserve these lands for all who are affected.
By maintaining those unburned islands of sagebrush, we're keeping the seed. Sagebrush tend to have a very heavy seed that doesn't disperse widely, and that just helps us with that natural restoration of the burn area.
And the Department of Wildlife does population counts on many of the species who live in these natural habitats. However, they say they won't have a more accurate number on the amount of animals that have been impacted until many of these fires are complete. Covering Fire Watch Live, Ryan Kennedy, Channel 2 News.
Okay, Ryan, thank you. And the MM155 fire burning in Pershing County, southwest of Winnemucca, is now 50% contained. That fire has burned more than 22,000 acres, and firefighters are working on strengthening those containment lines.
You know, as you can imagine, fighting all these wildfires racks up a pretty high bill.
Yeah, that's right. Ariana Bennett joins us now live in the studio with a look at just how high. Ari?
Yeah, it's a lot. Take a look. The total firefighting cost just for the month of July, $33.2 million. Now, that's a combination of all the fires that have burned at least partially in northern Nevada. But the biggest offender is this one, the Long Valley Fire, $7.9 million just for this one, and it's still burning. Now, the Long Valley Fire, as we mentioned earlier, sparked near Doyle, California, then jumped over the border into Nevada. This 83,000-acre blaze joins 16 other fires burning in our area, all putting some stress on firefighting budgets for a lot of different jurisdictions, as you can imagine. Now, each firefighting agency will keep track of how much it has cost them in resources every day. Then the cost is shared among those jurisdictions. Now, sometimes when fire season is particularly extreme, the state can declare a state of emergency, which makes it eligible for federal funding. Now, so far, we have not heard about that happening just yet. Part of the reason for that could be that a lot of these fires are already burning on federal land, so the BLM or U.S. Forest Service are already shouldering those costs. But of course, we will let you know if that changes. Covering the story live, Ariana Bennett, Channel 2 News.